Yeah, how do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane. There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested.
Names, last names, area codes, okay?
Who created this book?
Epstein.
We're so grateful to be joined by Jeffrey Epstein survivor, Annie Farmer. Annie, thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the show.
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions.
Epstein tried to invite Joe Rogan to his island, and Joe Rogan said no. Long before any files came out, billionaires, government officials, tech CEOs, and celebrities were around Jeffrey Epstein, but Joe Rogan says he always felt something was off. From details in Epstein's secret black book to what allegedly happened on his Lolita Express private plane, Joe Rogan is now speaking about parts of the Epstein files that the FBI did not block out.
They'll have an understanding of how things are really working than ever before.
Yeah.
Like this Epstein file thing, right? That was a big eye-opener for a lot of people. When you see how many people after 2008, after he was arrested, after he went to jail, were actively taking money from him. MIT took money from him and tried to hide it and said to make sure that any donations from Jeffrey are listed as anonymous. So
Wow.
you find out like people are like, they referred to him as Voldemort, like you couldn't say his name.
Wow.
There was a lot of people that met with him and did business with him and traveled with him after he was arrested, after he went to jail.
Do you spend a lot of time reading them?
No, I try not to. I try to have experts come on. I try to read. You can't change it.
Yeah.
And it'll with your head.
Yeah, it's
like
toxic.
You will really get.
It'll stick with and I know I've tried not to.
In a recent episode of his show, Joe Rogan said that in 2017, one of his guests, Lawrence Krauss, a theoretical physicist, tried to connect him with Jeffrey Epstein. This is also mentioned in the latest file release. In one email between Epstein and Krauss, Epstein asked for an introduction to Rogan. He said he thought Rogan was funny. The email says, "It is wild, like Damascus. How are things? I saw you went on the Joe Rogan show. Can you introduce me? I think he's funny." Krauss reached out. But Rogan was not interested. Epstein later wrote, "If he wants, Rogan can have dinner with Woody Allen on Friday." Krauss replied, "Sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I expected." At that time, Epstein had already been convicted of sex crimes, yet he was still socializing with some of the most powerful people in the world and emailing with figures like Bill Gates, Elon Musk, Prince Andrew, and even Jay-Z. Rogan said he felt something was wrong immediately because Alex Jones had predicted something like this years earlier. Somehow, Alex Jones had talked about what was happening on Epstein's island and private plane long before his conviction and before any files became public.
I'm in the files for not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going. Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
You're like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would have went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the f are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, you high? Like, what the f are you talking about?
For what reason would you? What would be?
If I was a guy who was like sucking up to the rich and powerful, if I was really interested in hanging out with rich and powerful people.
You know, it's crazy. That's so crazy. But yeah, some people
get intoxicated by being in a circle of rich and powerful people, even if they're not like they don't even have any ambitions of being one of those people. They just want to be around them. They want to be around Nobel Prize winners. And because this guy what he was doing was very clever in that he was getting all of these very powerful and very respected people together.
Yeah.
And you would figure like, oh,
if that guy's there, if that lady's
Clinton's
there.
here. This is fine.
Right.
Clinton's here. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
Look, it's Steven Pinker. How could this be bad?
Yeah.
You know, he's a genius. Like, and so you would go, I would imagine, you would go to these, because there's people that went to these, like he had parties in New York, like he brought in celebrities and comedians. Didn't Louis Black get invited to one of those? I think he's talked about it. I know Chelsea Handler went to one of them. It's like he would bring all these people in, and he'd like to be around famous people and entertainers and a lot of intellectuals and professors. And Noam Chomsky was famously deeply involved.
Joe said the reason he stayed away was because of things Alex Jones told him years earlier on his show. Alex Jones had warned Joe about Epstein. Joe explained that Alex kept saying something dark was happening on Epstein's island, claiming it was not just a place for wealthy people to party, but a center where powerful figures were being compromised. According to Alex, Epstein collected blackmail on rich and influential people by inviting them to his island and secretly recording them in bad situations, sometimes after giving them drugs. By 2017, Epstein had already been convicted of serious crimes. So the fact that billionaires like Bill Gates were still meeting with him raises serious questions.
It seems very dark.
Very
because
dark.
it seems like it was this bizarre blackmail influence thing that was going on for a long
For
time.
so long.
A long time.
Through different administrations. That's
Yeah.
what's so unbelievable about it.
It's
how
dark.
long it was going on.
This is where the story gets even darker. Why was Epstein collecting blackmail in the first place? And how did he gain access to such powerful people? Becoming close to both Saudi and British royal families is not easy. And don't forget that former President Bill Clinton was also photographed with Epstein. Being part of these circles suggests Epstein was placed there. The question is who put him there? Joe Rogan believes it's possible Epstein was working as an asset for a foreign government. In that view, his role was to gather blackmail, and others funded his billionaire lifestyle, private jets, islands, and properties worldwide. The big question remains, how did Epstein pay for all of it?
You just get real and
What
say,
do you, if I gun to your head, what do you think your best assessment of what Epstein, who was Epstein, who was he working for?
well, I don't know, right? So I'm just guessing. Everybody wants to say he was working for the Mossad. He very well could have been. He could have been working for the CIA. He could have been a guy who was on his own, but also working with them, right? Like a guy that they used, but they never fully endorsed.
Like an asset?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a guy who could move money around.
Right.
He definitely
Good at laundering money.
the moving money around stuff was very weird because he had money through no way that anybody could ever explain.
Yeah.
He had an enormous amount of money through no way that nobody could ever explain. Which, you know, if you're state funded, you're funded by Israel and Israel's funded by America, and, you know, there's also NGOs and nonprofits, and there's ways to move money around where you can give this guy money.
Yeah.
So he was like Weinstein, who is an economist, right? Weinstein's a legitimate mathematician.
Eric?
Yeah. So when Eric met him, his first inclination was he was a fraud.
He's a construct.
Yeah, a construct. And did he tell you the whole story about the girl sitting on his lap?
Yep.
So Epstein, while he's meeting with Eric Weinstein for the first time, has a beautiful girl sitting on his lap, and a woman, I shouldn't say girl. He said she was like in her 20s, and she's sitting on his lap,
bouncing
and
on
he's
her.
bouncing around, so they're juggling around. While
And he's asking math questions.
yeah, talking serious. So he was obviously nerd fishing. He was fishing
Yeah.
for nerds, and I think he
Yeah.
caught a lot of nerds in that net. There's a lot of those guys
100%.
that wound up going to that island. They probably thought, this is great. We get to party.
All of this was said to be written in Epstein's secret black book. Jeffrey listed names, dates, and phone numbers of people who visited his island, along with names of alleged victims. There was said to be only one copy of this book. After his conviction, it could not be found until 2009, when the FBI discovered someone online claiming to have it and trying to sell it. A sting operation was arranged and video of it appeared in the latest release. The 2009 footage shows Epstein's former Palm Beach house manager Alfredo Rodriguez attempting to sell a small black book of contacts, saying it included powerful figures and alleged victims to an undercover agent. In the same video, Rodriguez claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell kept a database of girls, reportedly including explicit images. That database has never been recovered, and Ghislaine has refused to cooperate with the FBI even after Epstein's death. It raises the question of what or who she might be afraid of.
Names, last names, area codes, okay?
Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
This book was made by Epstein?
This is a video of an FBI sting operation with Jeffrey Epstein's former house manager and an undercover FBI employee from 2009. The Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, believes he is selling Epstein's address book to someone representing a lawyer of Epstein's victims.
You will see a lot of important people here.
He claims that the book contains contacts of powerful people, as well as Epstein's victims.
No?
So those are mostly underage girls, those numbers?
They were very young.
A source familiar with the case confirmed the video shows the sting operation, which court documents show happened 2 years after the FBI demanded that Rodriguez turn over any Epstein documents. Instead, court documents say he kept the address book and tried to sell it for $50,000.
Alfredo, how are you? How you doing, buddy?
In the occasionally redacted 45-minute video of the meeting, Rodriguez implicates Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, who's now serving a 20-year sentence for of minors.
Ghislaine Maxwell was his former companion, a very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife.
Rodriguez also claims that Maxwell kept a computer database of girls, something he said he saw briefly once.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from
All
Colombia.
minors? All young girls?
Very young, very young.
Like when you say very young, how young are we talking?
16, 17. They're teenagers. They have braces, most of them.
Rodriguez provided no evidence to support the existence of the database.
Good count it. And while you're
The video, released as part of the recent trove of Epstein documents, abruptly ends after the agent hands Rodriguez a bag of cash and says he will call the lawyer.
It wasn't only Epstein's island where these things happen. His private jet, known as the Lolita Express, was also part of it. According to victim testimonies, Epstein abused girls while traveling. He often kept several young girls with him on the plane, in case he became bored. What shocks many people is that those on the plane, the pilots, crew, and even some passengers, reportedly saw what was happening but chose to ignore it. They stayed silent and never reported anything.
It took a lot of people involved. It took doctors, psychiatrists, gynecologists, dentists. All these people knew what was going on, hairstylists. I mean, the list goes on. I could keep going on and on and on. Drivers, chauffeurs, butlers, housemaids. It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on. Everyone's turned a blind eye in the place where I was supposed to be protected, in my country where I was supposed to be protected. The justice system failed us then. I believe they're going to do something amazing for us now. I really believe in them. I believe that the New York Southern District wants to do the right thing. And I will do everything that I can do to be a part of helping them do that.
Details about the plane were also included in the latest release of the Epstein files, describing how he used it to fly guests to different places. The jet appears many times in flight logs and investigation records connected to Epstein. These records show he flew guests across the country and overseas. In one email dated January 7, 2020, with the subject line, "Re-flight records," it says Donald Trump was listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 1993 and 1996. The email claims that on at least 4 of those trips, Ghislaine Maxwell was also on board. The document also reportedly says that on one flight in 1993, the only listed passengers were Epstein and Trump. On another flight, 3 passengers are listed, Epstein, Trump, and a 20-year-old woman, with the rest of the line blacked out in the release. To be clear, being named in flight logs does not by itself prove wrongdoing. The records show travel and association, not criminal charges. Still, seeing these names in official logs has led many to question why President Trump was traveling with someone like Epstein.
Epstein's wealth was so vast, you know, the fact that he had this fleet of planes. We've heard a lot about the Lolita Express. What happened on the Lolita Express?
Everything that happened on the Lolita Express and his other planes was the same thing that happened in his bedrooms and the massage rooms, on the beach, wherever we were. The abuse did not stop because we're in the air. 95% of the time, there was always involved. Jeffrey couldn't take a 2-hour flight without having to articulate. Like, that's how sick this man was.
How did you live every day? How did you get on board that plane? How did you live knowing you're going off to New York or to the island or to wherever you were about to be trafficked to? You must have been a ball of dread and anxiety.
I was horrified. I was sad. I was angry. I was disgusted. I was a shell, and the only way that I could cope with what I was going through was, taking Xanax. And Xanax is like an anti-anxiety tablet, but it also, it took away that feeling of anger, sadness. It made me feel numb. It was a numbing tablet.
Just yesterday, the Department of Justice released the names of 6 more billionaires linked to Jeffrey Epstein. These names had been blacked out before, and they were only made public after senators asked the DOJ to remove the redactions. How many more names are in these files? And why does the DOJ seem slow to share the details? One tweet about the issue said, "Instead of hiding the victims' names like they asked, the DOJ hid the predators' names. They were meant to protect victims, but they protected predators." Another tweet stated, "I don't think the DOJ is focused on protecting victims. I think they are more worried about protecting certain predators because they are wealthy, powerful, and have political influence. It feels like one of the most backwards and corrupt cover-ups in history."
Congressman Massey and I went to the Department of Justice to read the unredacted Epstein files. We spent about 2 hours there, and we learned that 70 to 80% of the files are still redacted. In fact, there were 6 wealthy, powerful men that the DOJ hid for no apparent reason. When Congressman Massey and I pointed this out to the Department of Justice, they acknowledged their mistake, and now they have revealed the identity of these 6 powerful men. These men are Salvatore Navora, Zorab Mikoladze, Leopig Leonor, Nicola Caputa, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of Dubai Ports World, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner, who was labeled as a co-conspirator by the FBI. Now, my question is, why did it take Thomas Massey and me going to the Justice Department to get these 6 men's identities to become public? And if we found 6 men that they were hiding in 2 hours, imagine how many men they are covering up for in those 3 million files.
Joe also discussed this on his podcast and said it seems very suspicious that no one on Epstein's client list has been charged. The names are there, and it's known that the FBI has video evidence too. These 3 million files are said to be only 20% of what the FBI holds. If they wanted, arrests could start tomorrow, but that hasn't happened. The files were not released even though the FBI had them for nearly 20 years. Epstein's Black Book was found in 2009. Yet no one on the list has been convicted or even put on trial. Some people believe this may be because of how powerful and connected the guests are. There are also claims that Epstein worked for Mossad and other intelligence groups. However, no verified public evidence has proven he worked for any intelligence agency. Those claims remain unconfirmed and continue to circulate in media and online discussions.
But yeah, I think the public will be rightly frustrated if no one is prosecuted for the Epstein client list, no one at all, which, no one, like at least, I don't know, the top 5 or something, like some number there should at least be an attempted prosecution of the worst offenders.
Well, particularly if Ghislaine Maxwell is in jail for trafficking.
Yes.
Because trafficking
that means occurred.
Right. So she's in jail for it.
Yes.
So
who were the clients?
Yeah. Yeah. How do you put someone in jail and you don't even name the clients? That sounds kind of insane.
I think, yes, it would. Yes. Because
it's just stunning that they've been able to hold it back for so long. It's really kind of amazing.
Yes.
Like when people say that people can't keep secrets, what the f are you talking about? Look at this.
Yeah. I mean, a bunch of these things are not like, it's common knowledge, but we don't actually have the proof.
Right.
So the proof is there. I mean, there's lots of videos. Yeah, there's lots. I mean, the dude is like a mountain of whenever they raided Epstein's place, there would have been like a mountain of evidence. Where is that mountain?
Right. What'd you do with it?
Yes. Like who took possession of the evidence?
Yeah.
Specifically.
Right.
The individual.
Where are the tapes?
So far, the only result has been public criticism. Peter Mandelson, the UK ambassador to the United States, lost his position in September after emails showed he had closer contact with Epstein than he first admitted. Then there is Prince Andrew. Virginia Roberts Giuffre claims she was abused by Epstein and told to be with Andrew when she was 17. Andrew has always denied these claims. Still, the consequences were serious. His brother, King Charles, removed his honorary military titles and royal patronages, and Andrew stepped away from public royal duties.
From disturbing photos of the former prince, Andrew, to his alleged sharing of government documents with convicted senator Jeffrey Epstein, the fallout from the Epstein files once again putting the British royal family into turmoil. Andrew has denied all wrongdoing, but the pressure is now ramping up on the royals to do and say more about their disgraced relative. The Crown, under fire.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?
From King Charles to Prince William, shouted at in Saudi Arabia.
To what extent do you think the royal family has done enough around the Andrew and Epstein issue?
ITV also capturing Queen Camilla getting tough questions too.
Do you have a message for Epstein's victims, Your Majesty?
We've never actually seen other members of the royal family heckled to the extent that we have in the last few days.
Epstein is gone, but Ghislaine is still around and has always refused to help authorities. The victim has testified many times that Ghislaine took part in the abuse and helped Epstein control things. But so far, nothing has been done.
As her lawyer continues to press for clemency in exchange for her testimony, something President Trump has continually declined to rule out. How does this all make you feel?
It's honestly very disturbing to see these images of her and have her be looked at as someone who could potentially be providing any kind of information in this case. I mean, she has refused over and over to cooperate with the investigation. She's refused to have, she doesn't have any empathy or has not expressed any empathy or remorse to her victims. So I think it's highly problematic that anyone would consider negotiating with a serious criminal like this. And I think it would just really be indicative of guilt in some way, because we know that she is not a credible source of information.
And you say to her victims, as you know, she has repeatedly said that she had no involvement directly with actually.
I can speak, very personally, but the fact that that's not true. She was towards me. And there's so many other crimes that she committed that she wasn't even prosecuted for. There were 4 of us that testified at her trial, but I have now met so many women who say it was because of Ghislaine Maxwell that I ended up being, sometimes for years, and that she was at times involved in that herself. So she was a very central figure in this system, and her efforts to minimize her role have not been effective. We've seen in the files that have been released already several places where the emails she sent are contradictory to things she said on the record before.
Just last week, Ghislaine was asked to testify, but she refused to answer any questions. If Epstein was really working alone, why is Ghislaine so afraid to speak?
Ms. Maxwell, were you a close friend and confidant of Jeffrey Epstein?
I would like to answer your question, but on the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer this question and any related questions. My habeas petition is pending in the Southern District of New York. I therefore invoke my right to silence under the 5th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Let the record reflect that Ms. Maxwell has invoked the 5th Amendment against self-incrimination. Ms. Maxwell, please be very clear. Are you declining to answer the question put to you solely on the ground that you believe the answer will incriminate you?
I invoke my 5th Amendment right to silence.
If you want deeper explanations of the files, the timelines, and what's verified versus what's speculation, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll keep separating fact from rumor and going through what the documents really show. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is a failure of the justice system, or is there more happening behind the scenes?